Welcome to the Postcards from Palisade podcast. I'm Lisa McNamara. Palisade is most famous for its peaches, but there's so much more happening in our little town. Join me as I chat with our community members to hear about how they're making Palisade a great place to live and visit. Today I'm speaking with Priscilla Walker, current vice chairman and founding chairman of the Palisade Historical Society, about saving the Palisade Tribunes. Priscilla and a dedicated team of volunteers pulled off an enormous effort to quite literally save history in 2014, when they kept 111 years of issues of the Palisade Tribune from destruction. The Palisade Tribune was the town's newspaper of record from June 6, 1903, until March 13, 2014. It existed even before Palisade was incorporated as a town, in April of 1904. Even today, 11 years after it ceased publishing, I still regularly hear people lamenting the loss of our local newspaper. Now, I knew from attending the Historical Society's monthly history talks about the Historical Society's current effort to digitize past issues of the Tribune, but I had no idea that this effort wouldn't have existed without the 2014 work of a group of volunteers to rescue and preserve the physical copies of the newspaper. So I had to talk to Priscilla to learn more about this story. Join us today to hear all about how Priscilla discovered that the papers were in danger, how a team of volunteers worked tirelessly to save them, putting in over 260 volunteer hours, and what their plan B was in case things didn't go smoothly. And of course, we also take a few detours into the fascinating corners of Palisade history. All that and more on today's postcard from Palisade.
I'm glad you found the article because it needs updating.
Okay. Well, let me tell you how I found the article, which is kind of a strange story. But someone was asking me, okay, when did the Tribune cease printing? Do you know why? Things like that. So I really just did a search and up pops this detailed history. And I'm reading it and I'm like, this is amazing. And again, 2014, I think it was from?
March 2014.
Yeah. I thought, I wonder if people today, maybe that have moved here recently, are aware of this history. And
oh, probably not. You go through life and some things are meant to happen. And this, I think, is one of those that we were just destined to save the newspapers. In the article, I talk about how the angels stepped up to do the work. The first, of course, was Susan Lorenzen Cesario, whose parents had been the editors for 20 years. And so she knew the importance of it. And when it got shut down, I texted her and said, oh, the Sentinel shut down the Tribune. She called Jay Seaton on his private line on Sunday because of the connection that her parents had been the editor, and made him promise to give, so there's the first angel. The Historical Society started in 2010, and so for the first 4 years, we had an article about what we were doing almost every week in the Tribune. And the last 2 years, we had historic photos of the week. I mean, they really helped us get started. And then the Sentinel bought them in 2012 and shut it down in 2014. And, we sure don't get the coverage that we did when the Tribune existed. But then it was, well, what's going to happen to the papers? And as the article says, there was a lot of, the town was going to put them in a truck and take them over to the school they just tore down. And they need to be in, these are 100-year-old papers.
Right. More than 100, right? Some of them.
Yeah, from 1903, June 1903. They need to be, to preserve them in boxes. And we got paper that wouldn't destroy them from the printer, CPC Printing. And then Bob Sweeney still owned the Tribune building. And so I traded him a lifetime membership in the Historical Society if we could have access to the building. Because the first thing was to sort them. I mean, the pictures in the article show they were just on shelves
Yeah.
and in pieces.
It's painful to see. They're crumbling.
Oh, yes. And, we have to touch them with special gloves and stuff. And then it was negotiating with the Sentinel to get permission to have them. I mean, because they owned the copyright for the Tribune. Finally, it took 3 or 4 months, but finally I got a gift agreement or something, and he made changes, and so we went from there. So we had access to the building starting in June. The Sentinel had published it the last 2 years. When they bought it, they agreed to publish it for 2 years. March 13th, 2014 was the last issue. So it took us until June to get an agreement to get in, and Betsy had left her lunch bag from the slice of life. She had a dessert, and it was still on the table. And the plants had died, and I mean, it was just, as you can imagine, the Tribunes were on shelves in back, but the worst thing for paper is air and light. And so we needed to protect them. And when the first thing we needed to do was sort them. So we had a couple of wonderful volunteers, Nancy Morrison and Sybil. And fortunately, Sybil had not grown up here, because I'd still be sorting them, because I go through and see something and read it, and they were
distracted.
And so, here's this place that was just walked out of. And they had also printed the Fruit of Times. Bob had the Fruit of Times for a couple of years, or how many ever years, and there were just stacks of Fruit of Times that had never been. So we took them down to the Fruta and the Historical Societies there, and then, started the process. Another angel was a company that came and shredded the payroll records and all of the things that just should not be public. We were only doing the Tribunes. Nancy and Sybil got, I gave them a calendar starting in 1903, so they could see which issues were missing, and they wrote down all of the stuff. I mean, it was very laborious.
Oh, I bet.
So then we went in, and then it was get rid of the stuff that we shouldn't save and concentrate on the Tribunes and sort them chronologically and keep track of which issues we had.
Yeah.
And that took, they were still working on it in November. The realtor put a note. We hadn't been in there for a while because Sybil and Nancy had gotten tired, and they'd done pretty much all of it. And they hadn't been in there, and the realtor just left a note that said, "It's been sold, the closing is," and we didn't have a month's notice.
Oh, my goodness.
Another angel was the woman at the Hollinger Metal Edge Company that worked over Veterans Day weekend to get us 63 boxes to put the papers in so they could be moved. And we did get a grant from CARIB, the Colorado State Records Advisory Board, for $5,000 to buy these Hollinger Metal Edge boxes. So I immediately called Susan. And she and Lee came, and they were there a half hour before the boxes arrived and put them in the boxes and labeled. I mean, they were very wonderful. Another angel were Ralph and Nancy Amy, who had an extra house, and they agreed to store them. So we moved the shelves, and they had them for 5.5 years, because we really didn't have a place until we got the museum in 2021. We didn't have another place to store them. And one of the tragedies, so Susan and Lee came, and they had a pickup, and they put them in and moved everything. One of the interesting things, the entire 1960 issues are missing. Somebody borrowed them and never brought them back. And I had found one in my house. My mother had saved it because my brother or I had done something, and so she saved it. So I had given it to Bob Doherty, who was the editor before Betsy, and he just put it on an inbox or something. And so we were sorting through, we found it, and we got another one. So we have 2 1960 issues. Just a lot of wonderful people that stepped up at the right time. And bless her heart, Susan Lorenzen fell and, died from the fall less than 2 years later. I mean, if this had happened any other time, so I think that's the part where this was meant to be. Yeah. So then we start digitizing, and that's really where the story on our website stops.
Yeah, on the website it was saying, okay, so the next step is going to be to digitize. And I know so much has been done since then, since 12 years ago.
Mean, we were working with the Mesa County Library and the museum, and John Lindstrom was going with the microfilm that the museum had to, it was just, in fact, Susan, who had been a teacher at a middle school in Denver, she phrased it exactly right. She said, "This endeavor has no hope of simple." She'd teach her kids, to quote Shakespeare and stuff. She was so eloquent and wonderful. Then we stumbled on the Colorado Virtual Library, another angel. Lee Jeremias and Reagan Harper have been so helpful. We send what we can, the originals or the ones that are microfilmed, and they digitize them. And it's not an inexpensive process. It's like $1.25 a page. There were probably 5,500 issues printed. Because we're missing 50 of the 1960 issues, we won't have, all of them. And most years we have most of them, but, there are some holes. But we sort them, they've been in chronological order, and we sort them and send them to Denver, and they digitize them, or they microfilm them, and then they send that to, or they've been sending it to Israel, where they do optical character reader. So the machine looks at the original papers, some of which have creases and, whatever.
Sure, little tears, probably missing pieces.
And they come up with a serif screen of what they think it says. And that's been another interesting process. Like Fruta is Pruda in the OCR. So I have gone in and corrected 150 Prudas to make them Fruta, because we have new statistics on that she just gave us. In the last 90 days, the Tribune had 5,500 views. I mean, this is a newspaper that probably only had a few hundred, maybe 1,000 subscribers ever. Mm-hmm. In the last 12 months, we've had 19,773 views of the Tribune. Now, some of them are the same person. So in 90 days, it was 5,500. And in that 90-day period, the Tribune ranks 22nd out of 932 titles. There were 2,642 active users of the Tribune. One of the reasons I think it's so popular is not just Palisade News, but it had Rapid Creek, it had Colburn, it had Fruta, it had East Orchard. There were columns around, even articles from the Sentinel or whatever, Grand Junction. National news, state news, national news, international news. In 4 or 8 pages originally, mm-hmm. you could get a real sense of what was going on in the world. Because some of the other papers were so long, and they had to fill space, you'd have to read a lot to get the same amount that the Tribune would get in just a few words.
Well, and what's so cool about that is adding the searchability now with all of the digitized issues. Like, I can just go on there and put in any search term, and it's so easy to find information now. And
the Historical Society, we're learning stuff, things that we thought, like oral histories. I mean, we love them, but it's memory. Yes. And some people's memories are better than others.
For sure, yeah.
But yeah, the search capability. And what we love, they're on the Colorado Historic newspaper, and they're also on Plains to Peaks, which is Wyoming. So if you have family or relatives or friends that were in Wyoming, you can also go there and they'll give you Wyoming papers. And this is free. I mean, this is, you have to sign up, and especially if you're going to correct, you sign in so they know what you're up to.
Sure.
But to have this success because of, it was meant to be. that whoever directs this was.
That's so cool.
And I also want to call out the Lorenzen family, especially John Lorenzen, has donated so much money to us so that we can get the Tribunes digitized. The Altrusa, I mean, there's some big, Jeff Johnson, there are several people that have given substantial amounts, because when it was 4 or 8 pages, now it's 20. In the next batch is going to be up to 2003, probably early next year. We're up to 95 now, so we'll have 8 more years in a little bit. And I just sorted the 2000 to 2003, and it took 3 hours because I had to stop and read the articles.
Yeah, no, that's not that long ago. That's oh, that's great. So, so once you send the papers to Denver, they put them on microfilm. That goes to Israel to be what's the word you said?
OCR.
OCR.
Yeah, they're digitized in Denver. And
digitized here.
They couldn't
OCR
be digitized in Grand Junction because we don't have a scanner that's big enough. Because you can't roll them because of the especially the 1903 issues. And now we're into the bound ones.
Okay.
And that's really good because it's every issue. And in the starting in like 2002 or so, in the Tribune was the Palisade Bulldog newspaper from the high school.
Yeah.
I don't know, I wasn't here, but we were gone for a few years, and the teacher, maybe they quit teaching journalism or something, but I think Bob Doherty, who was the editor, took on the journalism class and then included it and distributed it with the Tribunes. So we'll have high school news coming up in this next batch when it's printed.
Oh, very cool. So after they're digitized in Denver, then the original papers get sent back here.
Yes.
And they're stored. So they'll always be here stored for physical copies.
And we just got another $1,000 from Questers for more boxes.
Oh, wow.
Again, we have the paper, and they're in the right kind of boxes, because cardboard destroys, ordinary cardboard destroys photos and stuff.
I mean, this might sound like a dumb question.
No, there are no dumb questions.
But why was it so important that you were able to get these papers? Why did you and the group of volunteers, why did you care, and why was it so important to get these?
Well, we had been accessing issues when, Betsy or whoever would let us, because people's memories and the things that are available weren't like the newspaper. I mean, this was when journalism was, and there's some errors, but it's vital. I mean, and we're the Historical Society, and we were trying to communicate Palisade's interesting and unique history. Because, Grand Junction is bigger, and that's the history you hear about. We're overlooked, even though I think our history is more interesting. We have been growing the best peaches in the world for the last 130 years.
Right.
And that may be boring to some people, but the nuances, and, especially for people who think their food comes from the grocery store, we want people to understand the challenges that have been overcome and the agriculture expertise that is here, and the inventions and all those kinds of things. And the newspaper only helps. We just got, let's see, do you want me to talk about how we just researched something?
Yeah, that would be lovely, because one of my questions was going to be, what sorts of things have you done with the digitized papers, and what are you hearing from people about how they're using them? So that would be great.
If 19,000 people are looking at them, research so Cameo, we've sort of encompassed Clifton and Cameo. And, we're in touch with Plateau Valley, and we've helped them, and Fruta as well, the small historical society, smaller ones. But a guy contacted us. His family had run the Cameo Mercantile, and, generations later, they have this fur coat, a sheep herder coat, that was given as collateral. This is in the 1920s. The guy can't afford to pay what he was buying at the store, so he left the coat and never came back. So we're researching the family and who in the family were at the Cameo Mercantile And what about, what did they do? Because one of the family members also became like the assistant attorney general of Colorado. I mean, interestingly, we got one of our researchers, Dave Sasuga, found on Facebook a photo of the Palisade post office, and he's figured out which ones are where. And this is one we think that was like where the plaza. It was on the west side of Main Street. And here's a guy, and it's WAKOB as opposed to WACHOB. So, but it's a photo that the museum in Grand Junction has, so we've corrected them, the spelling. And I was looking up Baker steam cars the other day. This was a file in my basement. And it was Palisade people, the Bowers, worked there. And so I was researching it and found that like $70,000 worth of investment in the Baker Steam Company was from Palisade people.
Wow. My
My grandfather and others. I would never have known that if we hadn't been able to research that in the Tribune. Genealogy. I think that's huge.
That's a good one.
Another one that's interesting is addresses, what property where. Now, the problem is, like my grandfather's property was ranch west of Palisade.
You're right. The descriptions have changed.
We found in the phone book that the WACHOB, Walker property, was in Mount Lincoln. So that made the search a little bit easier. And sure enough, the Tribune articles talk about Mount Lincoln, which is like 36 and 3/10 road or 1/10 road. Yeah. And G road.
It is it's addicting because you just keep chasing these threads and you keep finding something else and then going further and further.
And obituaries. I mean, there's huge things you learn from obituaries. Now they don't mention the first wife's kids or, but this, you get, there's the parents and there's the sibling. I mean, they're very well done. And for people researching their family, I mean, that's huge. I have to believe of the 19,000 views, I've got to believe a certain percentage is looking up family members.
Oh, I'm sure. That's a critical source for that information that probably wouldn't have existed anywhere else.
The legal records don't convey what the person was like the obituaries, the well-written ones. And so that's, clearly motivation for historic newspapers.
Absolutely. So what do you use today to preserve history? Or how do you decide what and how do you decide it is preserved today?
Interestingly, I mean, we have files and boxes, when people share things with us, and then I have a spreadsheet. Big museums have databases that they pay for, and, we're into Excel and Word, so that's really what we're doing now is to digitize photos. All the photos we get, if people give them to us and want them back, we digitize them or keep them in a photo acceptable storage space.
So say though from 2014 onwards, after the Palisade Tribune ceased publishing, I guess what do we use as that source now, that source of truth? Or is there one?
Other than our newsletter, I don't know. I mean, that's a great question because we're not our Palisade. They're trying to put a sign up on Foodtown of who the town grouches were. And so they've come to us, and because the Sentinel didn't, and the last one on the sign is 2014.
Yeah.
The Sentinel didn't publish, and I've even talked to Bob Silbernagel, who has access to information, or, because I think the Sentinels really do digitize their recent ones. They're just not publicly available.
Okay.
But he looked through their record and couldn't come up with a name. So it's, do you remember who was and we're down to only 3 or 4 years, but it's through our records. The chamber apparently didn't keep them, or, I don't know, because they were in charge of, but we've been a source and we're able to provide. A part of it is we've been around, we started in 2010, so we've been around enough that people are they think of us. Oh, I'll check with the Historical Society. Another source that I've found is Facebook. Actually, the Hugus building. We were researching, and we got a copy of a book from the Craig Museum about the J.W. Hugus and Company. And then we looked through the Tribunes and the chamber files. And then the woman that had the restaurant where the Blue Pig is for a while, her stuff that she posted is still on Facebook. And
she passed away quite a while ago.
And she passed away years ago, yeah. And so, I suppose in some aspects for some things, although there again, it's like oral histories. It's what you remember or what you put down or what you want people to know.
Right, right.
Or not.
Yeah, polished version of history.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. I was wondering if you were going to say Facebook, because so much of our community, even community building now today, is on Facebook.
Social media, yeah. Good or bad. In the information we got from Lee at the Colorado Virtual Library, in the last 30 days, there have been 1,600 views of the Tribune. I mean, it's exponentially, I mean, we envisioned that it would be a good resource for us, but that this many people are also appreciating it and, sending in memberships and donations and stuff and genealogy is huge. I've had people contact, and I put cousins in touch with each other that haven't talked for a while because they both contacted us and shared their information.
Wow. And so you're like, I feel like you know this person, or you're related to this other person.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
And correcting oral histories, I mean, that's another thing that the Tribunes especially are good for.
Yeah, I know, and there are the oral histories on the Historical Society website that are so interesting.
Aren't they? Yeah. We opted to do summaries. We initially did videos and edited them. The woman who couldn't remember when her husband died, and she's, we edited that out. Yeah. And then I realized nobody has CD players anymore, and we got them back. The families, after they passed away, the families didn't keep them. And so what we've been doing then are summaries because they're searchable.
Yes.
You don't have to listen to an hour and a half to see when they talked about the United Fruit Growers.
Right.
So we've done summaries. And we have, the newest one is Salvador Rivas, who is a migrant worker who came to Palisade, and then he managed Mike Martin's orchards, the Cutter Orchards, for years. So he gave us his oral history. We sat down with him for hours, and it's in English and Spanish. And he worked with Margaret Talbot at the, Child and Migrant Center, and she sent him to the Farm Worker Convention when Cesar Chavez was the speaker, and he has that poster.
Oh,
so that's that's the other thing about having the summaries is you can also put, photos and things. Salvador plays the guitar, and his daughter put the videos of his original recordings. So we can click to them, they're on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you can click to them, and that's on our website now. I'm cool. So excited.
Okay, I haven't looked at that one yet.
It's
so
brand
now
new.
I'm excited to go look at it. I gotta go check that out.
Yeah. Originally, one of our early volunteers, he thought we could do 10 oral histories a month.
It's a lot of work.
Well, and every person is different. We had a form, and some people would fill out the form. They know exactly what they wanted to say, and they'd say it. And then there were people that you'd ask questions, and then there were people who didn't want to be recorded. For whatever reason, they didn't want to be recorded. And others have been reluctant to sit down with we have volunteers, and we're struggling. I have a list and typically they'll die before we get them recorded. We've lost that a lot. But that maybe is another thing that we are trying to do without a newspaper, is to record the more recent oral histories.
That's tough because, like you said, everybody's different. Some people might just give you a yes or no answer. Some people might talk for an hour.
For an hour, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been an interesting project, and it's really slowed. I mean, we've gone years now without recording some that, but then we have some really exciting ones, Barbara Bickey and other people that just are wonderful. And hers it was a recording that we summarized from a speech that she gave at a Christmas party, a family gathering, and they allowed us to tape it. Because she has spoken, I mean, she immigrated from Hungary in 1956, and our cousin was a Baptist minister, her uncle, and that's why they came here. But it's this incredible story about someone who emigrated to the United States and was fortunate enough to be able to figure out how to do that. This is the land of opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Right. And then, that's okay. I'm going to check that one out after this too.
Oh, yeah.
Why is history important to you? Why did you get involved? Because you're the founding chairman of the Palisade Historical Society. So what made you start this up?
I guess, let's see, it was a committee of the chamber, and I had been on the chamber board, and then we were gone for 7 years and came back. And the chamber, it was Leif Johnson. He was the one that said, got to have a history. And it was interesting. Bill Floriancic said, well, you've started 10 years too late.
That's always true. Right?
I think, part of it is because we are so overlooked that, we have this wonderful, unique story with all these interesting pioneers who could see what this place looked like with a little irrigation. And my family, my grandparents bought property in 1893 and built the house we live in 1904, and we still, Cocopelli Orchards does our peaches now, but my family's been growing peaches on that property for, 130, how many ever years?
That's amazing.
And we don't throw anything away, and so there was stuff in my basement that, I was looking at to sort, and so I kind of got interested in that, and then Leif had this, and that's how I met Harry Talbot. Okay. I mean, Harry was older than I am, and his kids are younger, and so I never knew them growing up, and here they are, this big fruit grower. So Harry and I got on this committee and started, and then one day Leif just handed me the gavel. So that's how I got to be.
So you're in charge now? That's pretty funny.
So, yeah, that was my first idea that maybe I'm the founding. And then, we had some help from other organizations and got, the bylaws and went through that formal process. And Bill Beckwith wrote the check for $400 so we could get incorporated as a nonprofit. And then, it was so obvious that it was so hard to find our history because it just wasn't, it wasn't out there like it is with the Mesa County Historical Society and their oral history program and stuff. But the museum has been, very helpful. And at one point because there was no museum in Palisade, people would give their stuff to the museum in Grand Junction, and a lot of it just got put in the basement. We were fortunate enough that when they came across stuff that said Palisade, they'd give it to me, like photos and things, and I would scan them and give them back the digitized and original photos with the correct information. Because, if you're not here, it's maybe harder. My favorite story is the Palisade Library collection. That my mother was on the Palisade Library Board, and they gave, in 1963, she did a history of Palisade and got people to give them photos and stuff, and there were 215 of them. And then the library board couldn't keep them safe anymore, so they gave them to the museum. Well, the museum did the identification, and they had Colonel Bauer, who's one of our founders, as Old Man with Pipe. Because Colonel Bauer always smoked, a pipe.
I had no idea who he was.
So I went through and gave them, the corrected information, and was thrilled that they would accept it.
Yeah. What's your favorite piece of Palisade history? Or what's your favorite story about Palisade?
Ooh,
if you have just one.
I have to pick? Boy, I don't know. I've never thought to narrow it down. I mean, at the museum, we have, the Aspinall room where Wayne Aspinall memorabilia and stuff is, because he was our congressman for 12 terms. And we have Cameo, which is, is wonderful. And then the peach packing. And, we have videos of packing peaches and walking on stilts. And then irrigation. And then we have the Palisade High School graduates, all the seniors in the 20th century, and the Tribunes, the original Tribunes, and box labels. It would have to be, peach growing is just so unique, and it doesn't happen without our irrigation system. We have in fact, we surprised History Colorado with this. We have a display about the migrant cabins and the CCC camp, the Civilian Conservation Camp, where the German prisoners of war stayed in 1944, and they worked in the harvest in 44 and 45. History Colorado didn't know that.
Really?
I mean, boy, I don't know. There's so many unique little tidbits, the stilts and the, and packing peaches and just processing and how they, because growing peaches is different than other. I mean, apples, they store them now with some sort of gas, so that you don't know if you have this year's apples or last year's, because they're just the same. Peaches, you put a stopwatch on, and if they don't get somewhere at the right time, I don't know, just the perseverance maybe of people, the problem solving. The government puts up obstacles and they figure out how to work in spite of them. And just the working together, the common, I mean, I just think that's, something that is unique and the Tribune communicates.
Yeah, there had to be a very special type to look at this valley, see what could happen here, and then work together to make it happen.
Envision, because the Ute Indians were here, but it was desert except for the river. And we've heard that they even avoided it because they thought it was cursed, because nothing grew. And yet, the settlers were like, a little bit of irrigation. The Mormons had done that in Utah, because our first orchards were by Whitewater and Rapid Creek, so they could divert the water into the orchards, and then to build the roller dam. There's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
We had the 100th birthday of the roller dam. This was Harry's idea to have a dam birthday party.
Yeah.
But that roller dam works the same way it did in 1915. The only thing they've added is 120 electricity. They monitor the water level now, but the guy that lives there has to go adjust the rollers. And that it's unique because a lot of the dams in the world, the German design, are for power, hydropower. And this is irrigation for the most part.
Yeah.
The hydro came in with the Orchard Mesa Irrigation District.
Right.
In 1933. I'm talking about history, not the Tribunes. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I mean, it's so interesting, though. It's tough because it's all connected and it's also fascinating. It's really hard. No, but that's really interesting. And I was asking you, what was your favorite story? So going back to the papers quick, though. So everything turned out great, perfectly through so many people's hard work.
The angels, the people that just at the right time and the right place, starting with Susan and on. It was meant to be, I think.
So many things had to fall into place, and they did. But I am just curious, though, if you knew that they were there, you knew that they were at risk, if for some reason they didn't let you take them, did you have a plan B to kidnap them? Because if it were me, I would have.
There were a couple of discussions along those lines, but without having the Sentinel and Grand Junction media's permission, we wouldn't have been able legally to do that.
Right.
And so, and I think Jay, I sat next to him at a meeting, a 150, 250 meeting, and he didn't know what we had done. I mean, I think he was pleased, but, we had to dot the I's and cross the T's as best we could, knowing as little as we knew.
Right. So you could have had them, but you wouldn't have been able to use them or do anything with them. And,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
that makes sense.
And without that, we wouldn't have had Carib's money for the boxes and the help, the Colorado Virtual Library's help. And that's interesting. There was a plan at midnight with trucks,
Yeah. Just in case.
Somebody talked about. But, it's like, where do you hide 5,500 issues?
Right.
I mean, it takes a lot of space.
Yeah.
People are, they come to the museum and it's like, well, they're just boxes. Why don't you hide them? Why don't you put them upstairs? And it's like, no, we want people to understand this is what they, this is what we had. This is what we had to deal with. And we still go back and look at, we have to research or get the photos, a new photo from the cover page that didn't come out as clear as it might have, or whatever it takes to research something. We do our best.
Right. And that physical representation of over 100 years of history is also really cool.
It's amazing.
Is there anything else that you want to share about the newspapers, the Historical Society?
Let's see, we appreciate everybody's financial support for the Tribunes. It is one of our biggest expenses, and that they enjoy using it. And if people are really bored, the correcting. I was in the top 10 of correctors for a while, and now it's more like the top 25. But I think the pandemic, people stayed home and did corrections. But like, the misspelling of the names, it's so much more helpful to have, to be able, because it might be the only time that person was mentioned. And if their name's spelled wrong, then you're not going to find them. But we appreciate everybody's support and enthusiasm, and we're so glad that we've been able. It's one of the things we're most proud of.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge accomplishment.
And
really,
we'll keep going.
Mm-hmm. You still have the 90s through 2000.
Let's see. At the Colorado Virtual Library now is through 2003.
Okay.
So that'll be the next batch. So then that's 11 years.
Yeah.
And we also have Clifton Tribunes, which are 99% the same as the Palisade Tribune, but again, it's shared history.
Yeah.
But we don't quite know what to do with those, just because they're so similar. The front page and most of the articles are really about Palisade, unless there was something that was unique to Clifton that got covered that week, because it was just double the work for Bob Doherty.
Yeah.
The saddest thing, he passed away in the last couple of years. And here's a man who wrote obituaries for a living and nobody, his obituary never appeared in the Sentinel.
Oh.
I mean, and nobody, I think, knew enough about him to make it, he was kind of estranged. And somebody else was also remorseful that here's a guy who helped us understand, and then we don't know his details.
Well, that was just a perfect reminder just to write things down.
Oh yeah.
And things that we maybe don't think are newsworthy today, they could be newsworthy in the future. So documentation is so important. Mm-hmm.
And especially in oral histories, you find people that just don't want attention. They have done so. We've found several of these Palisade people that have done so much, and they're just very, it's not all about them.
Yeah.
That they're very sharing of, and to drag information out of them, which I have done as best I can.
Yeah.
But it's, they're just unassuming and they don't want to be in the spotlight. So that makes some oral histories hard to come by.
How do you get information out of people who don't want to share? if I can steal some skills from you for the future. Not talking about you, but sometimes I do talk to somebody who wants to talk to me but is very reticent. So I'm curious.
Boy, it's just pretty much keep approaching them, but not tell me this or I'll, just once they're confident that you're not going to embarrass them or shine a public light on them or something, that, it's for history. One of our books is the history of fruit and wine in Palisade, and there's a lot of books about the winery side, but none of them say what ours says. And Doug Caskey at the wine had me send a copy of ours to Warren Minarski, who also just passed away a little bit. He said ours is the accurate one. So if Warren Minarski likes it, it must be good, huh?
That's awesome.
But, and it's because I just kept after a couple of people that needed to share. And I knew that they're not, it's not all about them, so they're not going to tell you something. Because we've had other people who come in with, this is the way it was, and, you can verify in a couple of conversations with people that that's not the way it was.
Okay. That's funny. Oh, yeah, that's the other problem, right? Sorting out made-up history.
Yeah, and with newspapers, too. Well, now there are no newspapers now. There's one person's opinion and another one, and it's been an interesting endeavor, one of which we're very proud of, and that these kind of results are, that people are reading them and appreciating them is, it was our mission, was to preserve and communicate.
Yeah. Mission accomplished, I think you said when the papers were rescued, but now even more so. So, well, I really appreciate you. Is there anything else you want to add in?
Oh, I didn't realize this stopped before we really had started the digitization project. Yes. I should revise it and add. Although, let's see, Joanne has put the viewership numbers in our social media and maybe on the website. And, I think that's something to be proud of.
Absolutely.
And verification that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know what we would have done. We would have done the museum and other things. We just wouldn't have the Tribunes.
Right. You wouldn't have the archive, the record.
And things in the museum wouldn't be the same because we got the information from the Tribunes.
Right. Well, thank you so much for that work, all of your work, and also just for spending time with me.
Oh, well, thank you.
Talking more about this.
This is exciting.
It's amazing to think that this entire archive of over 110 years of history would not have existed without the work of a group of volunteers, aka angels, assisted by some very well-timed luck. You can browse the Palisade Tribune at historicpalisade.org. Click on newspapers in the menu at the top of the page, and make sure you have a lot of time to set aside because you're going to get sucked in. You can also join the Historical Society or make a donation on their website. And if you don't subscribe to the Historical Society newsletter, you can sign up there. It's a free monthly newsletter filled with stories about Palisade of the past and today. You can find that on their website as well, historicpalisade.org. And does anybody out there have any of those 1960 issues of the Palisade Tribune? Knowing that they're missing makes me want to go on a serious hunt of all of the local antique stores. The podcast theme music is Riverbend by Jeff Roper. Thanks for listening. With love from Palisade.